on, Drip fam? For episode 3, season 2, we have the DJ of the cruise ship. His name is Jean. What's going on? What's going on, Jean?
Very nice, man. Nice to be here.
So before we get started, I want you, first and foremost, I want you to tell me, how did you even get into DJing in general? Let's start off when you were younger, in your younger years.
I used to play guitar and have bands and compose music.
All right, so let's start with this. Where are you from?
I'm from Brazil.
Wow. You're from Brazil. How did you hear about this ship in general?
Well, there was one day, if I have to pin down a situation, when I was doing this side job for the city hall of Recife.
Okay.
Back where, I used to live.
Recife is in Brazil?
Yeah.
Okay.
And it happened to be like a promotional video about the port. And then it was early morning. The cachet was very small, like about, if you convert these days, about $35-40.
Okay.
But it was not bad for a day of job in Brazil. And then I saw this big cruise ship, and I thought, well, maybe that's gonna be an interesting thing to do. Maybe I should try that out for a while and see what happens.
Okay, so you started out playing the guitar.
Yeah.
Then you went into DJing? Is that how it worked? Or were you always a DJ?
No, I started playing guitar, and I was actually studying engineering.
Studying engineering?
Engineering, yeah. And in the end of my course, like next to the end of my course, I have met this Russian friend of mine. He became a very good friend of mine. He's like my brother.
Shout him out real quick. He's gonna see it.
To Kirill, Mr. Kurshnov.
To Kirill, Mr. Kurshnov.
Yo. All right. So I have met him in a certain occasion. Back then there was this public event, and he was into electronic music, even though he played the piano. We had this band. We used to improvise music, me, Kirill, and this drummer, Milton, from Brazil. And then Kirill showed me how interesting it could be to produce beats.
All right, so at what age did you start? Let's start there.
I will hide the number.
You'll hide the number.
Yeah, but I wasn't a kid dreaming about being a DJ. I just wanted to make money out of a good market.
But was it in college? Let's say, so was it in college?
Yeah, I was in college.
Okay, so you were in college, okay.
Yeah, and then, bands are not really a thing anymore. So you have to...
In Brazil or in general?
In general.
Okay.
It's a lot harder.
That's a perspective.
It's a lot harder to have a band these days.
A successful band.
Yeah, to have a career, like really, it was about money. I love playing guitar, like I love producing music, but I had to learn to enjoy the electronic music because I saw that the market could be profitable.
Okay.
And I learned to love it as well.
So as the process went on, you started to love the process?
Yes, I really love the process these days.
And now it's more of a passion thing?
Yeah, it's a passion that I want to make as profitable as possible, of course. I think that's the dream of everyone that starts a career anywhere.
1000%.
You want to have a decent lifestyle while you have a good routine. That's basically it.
I agree.
Yeah.
So, you play the guitar, you were in a band. When you heard about this ship or this port or the port that you were talking about, how did the interview process go? Like, why did they choose you? I'm pretty sure you weren't the only person that was there.
I don't think so. First, I did this course that certifies you to work on any types of ships in the world.
First, you have to do a course that certifies you to work on the ship. Okay.
Yeah, you can do the interview prior to the certificate, but I did the opposite. So I got the certificate, and then I saw that there was, the position of a DJ on board, and I thought, well, I think one thing serves to another, and then I chosen that position. I applied. I had interviews, like they ask you general questions regarding the machinery and the operation
of what exactly?
Of like the DJ equipment, soundboards, and stuff, and how to behave in public, stuff like that. Like simple and general. But maybe my background helped. Or maybe there weren't that many candidates. I don't really know. But it was online and it was fun. But it took a while.
But speaking English obviously helped you out as well.
Yeah. If you don't speak English, you don't work on cruise ships.
So, all right. So there's a lot of people that watch my show that aren't familiar with cruise ships.
Yeah.
Or how like the whole process works. So how long are you away from your family for?
It depends. A contract is usually about 6 to 7 months.
6 to 7 months.
Yeah.
Without seeing your family, your girlfriend, anybody.
Bro, my friends, they study abroad. They did like masters abroad or doctors, and these days they live outside the country and they don't see their families for years.
Wow.
Yeah.
How do you sustain relationships that way?
Well, you gotta be creative and you gotta be dedicated, of course. If you don't put energy into it, you lose people.
1,000%. And that goes with relationships. That goes with family.
Yeah.
Yeah, it goes with essentially everything in the world, right?
Precisely. Even if you live closer. For an example, you also live in a big country, and Brazil is a massive country. So if you move from point A to point B in the country, you're probably gonna stay away from your family for ages, depending on what you do for a living.
So you have to stay in touch.
Yeah, you gotta have priorities. Like I talk a lot to my mom, my grandma, my friends. I have certain friends that I keep in touch, like always.
And if you don't put
my brothers.
And if you don't put effort into any relationship, it's just gonna fail in general.
Yeah, that's how it is. I think that's life in general.
That is life in general.
Yeah.
Take notes, guys.
But the lifestyle in the cruise ship can be very cool.
Yeah, and that's why we're having this interview, because I'm so intrigued. What's your favorite thing about working on a ship? Like so guys, we're on like a cruise ship. We're in the middle of Greece right now. The water is blue as hell. The sky looks amazing. We're on, what deck is it?
It's deck number 6.
We're on deck 6, and we have this all to ourselves. Shortly, I'm gonna put a clip of this whole area in the video, but let's get back to the question. So,
Sure.
So what do you love most about being on this cruise ship?
I don't know.
Besides the money.
Oh, yeah. I finish my shift at night, and I usually come to this very same area.
Nice.
And I look at the stars for about an hour. It's cheesy, but I do that almost every day.
That's dope.
Yeah, because the sky is very clear while you're in the middle of the ocean, so you can get to see shooting stars, satellites, and I practice guitar sitting on that bench, or I listen to podcasts.
Nice.
Like it's my favorite thing. Yeah.
Okay. That's fucking awesome. Okay, so you said you love to come to this area. You said you love to listen to music, you listen to podcasts and everything.
Yeah.
What does it take to be a DJ?
To be a DJ on a ship?
Because personally, I tried, just a DJ in general. So let's start there. Because personally, I tried to be a DJ for like 2 days. I bought the what's it called? I bought that
controller.
I bought the control. It's like a MIDI controller.
Oh, did you see?
What was it?
Man, I have never seen such a thing. It was a dolphin.
A dolphin.
Or a shark. But it, it was, I couldn't tell, but you heard the noise.
I heard it, but I didn't see it.
Bro.
That's crazy.
Man, okay. So anyways, the controller. Back to the controller.
I bought the controller and I looked at it. I tried it for a day and a half and I was like, this is not it.
Yeah, it takes a lot more than a day. Yeah. Well, to be a DJ on a cruise ship, you gotta have knowledge about all sorts of styles of music. It's good, you can do a good job and you can do a bad job, but you basically gotta have a good knowledge about pop music from all
genres,
decades.
All decades, okay.
Yeah, certain genres are good to know as well, and working every day on any type of job requires certain discipline regarding specific aspects, but the DJing specifically on a cruise ship requires to be eclectic enough to get to know the 70s, the 80s and 90s, and to understand how to manage the crowd more than the music itself.
Okay, and let's hop into the mindset of a DJ.
Okay.
So what kind of mindset do you have to have in general to be a DJ?
To be a DJ, in general or in the cruise ship or anywhere?
No, in general.
Well, I think you have to have a lot of appreciation for music.
So you have to love
and people.
the music.
It's the connection between music and the people, because you play the crowd more than you play the music. You don't need to be acrobatic.
Mm-hmm.
It's been a while since we don't need to be acrobatic when we DJ with vinyls or CDs. Everything is automated.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a matter of taste.
Okay.
And it's a matter of connecting one thing to another, and then you create a story every night.
Nice.
Yeah, like it's my point of view. But managing the equipment is pretty simple. Like a couple of months watching tutorials and practicing are enough to do a pretty decent job if you have knowledge.
Prior knowledge.
Yeah, prior knowledge about music.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you went to school for engineering, you told me.
Yes, I did.
And when you told your mother or your father or whoever you reside with that you wanted to go on a ship to be a DJ,
I did.
How did they react to that?
Oh man, it's a long story. It's a very long story. I don't even know how to start.
Make it short for us.
All right. Well, I didn't want to work in the industry as an engineer. I wanted to have my own business.
An entrepreneur.
Yeah.
Okay.
And working on a cruise ship allows you to save money.
A lot of money.
Depending on your currency, right? Mm-hmm. If you convert to Brazilian money,
mm-hmm.
or there are all sorts of nations that make it quite of a good deal.
Mm-hmm.
But it allows you, if you're disciplined enough, to save basically your whole salary.
Mm-hmm.
And for an example, last year while I was in the pandemic, quarantined, enclosured by the whole environment, I got along very well. I was studying every day. I'm working on a project that I will keep on working next year because I managed to save all the money.
Nice.
And I think that made my family understand.
Okay, understand. But it was difficult at first.
Of course it was.
What did they say though? Let's get deep into the nitty gritty.
Well, I think my family thought that it was ridiculous. Like when you study engineering, it looks like you're gonna be this specific standard of a man
mm-hmm.
that works in the industry,
mm-hmm.
and when you want to pursue any other, but man, if you want to change career at any time of your life, everybody will call you a crazy person.
Mm-hmm.
It's a mindset that people have in general. So in my case, I was finishing my course in engineering, so then you understand the story a little better.
Were you in your fourth year? You were in your last year?
I was in the
final years of
your
year. College career.
Yeah, in the college period. I really wanted to do something in the entertainment business.
Mm-hmm.
I really wanted to make money out of that. As an engineer, you have knowledge enough to learn. You learn how to learn things faster.
Mm-hmm.
And then I had an idea for a thesis for masters,
mm-hmm.
which is not easy to explain, but it connects some aspects of neuroscience and methods that you apply in the factory. Like you break down processes in the factory
mm-hmm.
in a certain way, and I wanted to connect that system of breaking down motor activities and certain aspects of neuroplasticity to make it very, very short.
Okay.
But it was really hard to find an advisor. I was a little messy, and the government cut a lot of the budget
mm-hmm.
that used to be designated to scholarships in the universities of Brazil, because I was studying in a public university. And that put me in very deep trouble. I pursued some other things, like I gave certain private lessons on mathematics.
Mm-hmm.
I did
as a side job.
I didn't have a job. I was not working in the industry of engineering because I wasn't graduated yet. Like there were other things, like I had a strike in my college. They had a strike that
mm-hmm.
lasted for months, and then you have to figure it out.
Wow.
I had all sorts of, you know,
Mishaps.
I have a difficult story in a way regarding my family, but that's hard to get into without a book. So all of those things led me to a certain way, and I had to think through, understand what's the priorities that I want to take together with me throughout the next years of my life, how I want to age, the way what I want to be when I get old, how to relieve pressure of family history and all of that stuff. And that led me to a peculiar pattern of the trajectory of life, and that in a certain situation I came to this decision to work on a cruise ship, which was a relief because my country is facing an economic crisis for years now, and the situation is really bad. Even if you follow the standard route, it's kind of a sad story, but I'm good now. Yeah,
awesome.
I'm really good.
Did anybody support you though?
Yeah.
Within the family?
Sure. Yeah, especially my mom. I think my mom is a great person. She is a very strong and very comprehensive person. My brother as well. I have friends that follow me. And Kirill, man, Kirill is a good friend.
Kirill.
He is a good friend. He just
awesome.
mastered my album. I'm gonna release an album.
You released? Talk about it.
Yeah, I'm gonna release an album of electronic music next month. Probably if I have the artwork done in the next few weeks, I will release an album of 9 or 10 tracks. I'm deciding if I put the last one or not. And it's gonna be on all platforms.
All digital platforms.
Yeah, on Instagram.
Shout out your Instagram.
Yeah. Jean Klein 1.
Spell it out.
JEANKLEIN 1.
And that's for Spotify, Instagram.
Well, Spotify, it will be linked to my Instagram, but as for now, I only have my, last year I was gonna release other songs last year on March or May. It was still about to be decided, but the pandemic ruined everything.
Yeah, for sure.
And when the pandemic hit us, all of us from the industry, it was just a huge pain, financial and emotional pain. And the world was in such a crisis that to me it made absolutely no sense to promote my image on Instagram during such times. With all the protests, I couldn't do it.
Okay, with all the protests. Okay.
Yeah, with all of the, I couldn't jump in and say, guys, look at me right now. I just couldn't do it. So I was studying programming, and I was studying, I was working on a project that's gonna go along with this career that I'm building now.
Okay, nice.
Yeah, so it's gonna be out there in about a month, guys.
In about a month.
Now we're in July.
Yep.
28th of July. I think in the end of August.
End of August.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
This next question that I'm about to ask you is a question I love because I feel like this question gives the audience the most information.
Yeah,
and I ask this question in every single interview.
Awesome.
And the question is, what was your greatest failure?
And when I ask
this question again, it's not what was your biggest L as in loss, it's what was your biggest L as in lesson.
What does it mean?
What was your greatest failure? So what was the greatest failure that you had that you learned from the most that you can apply into your life today?
Yeah. I have to think for a little while.
Just something that happened to you.
I am just structuring the thought, and I will throw it to you. Well, what I would say, it depends a lot on your background and your current story, but I think you always have to keep up with some, I don't know, man.
I'm talking about.
It's very hard to say. No, my biggest
though.
failure, because if I tell you my biggest failure regarding that context, it sounds like I'm giving a general advice. But I think you gotta be my biggest failure.
So the people are gonna learn from whatever you say, regardless.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So I'm not asking you this to give the audience advice. I'm asking you this so we can know what you learned from what happened to you specifically.
Yeah. I think that my biggest failure is surrounding
Greatest failure. So your your best failure.
My best failure.
That taught you the biggest lesson that you apply in your life today.
Well, maybe I shouldn't have entered engineering. Maybe I should have just done something else. But in the other hand,
But what did it teach you?
well, I love mathematics. If I get rich, I will stop everything I'm doing and I will study mathematics for a while.
When you get rich?
Well, hopefully in the next 10 years.
Yeah, so it's when you get rich. It's not if.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Words of affirmation on the show only.
Okay, but maybe, you know, deciding, I think every kid is, you know, destined to failure big time when they have to decide what to do when they're like very young and they don't know shit about life.
And that's where the growth comes from.
Sometimes, sometimes it destroys your life. Sometimes it leads you to a better place. But yeah, man.
It destroys your life if you let it, though. That's what it is.
Yeah.
And in order for you to get to that level, you have to have these failures stacked up to teach you, just in life in general.
If you think that everyone is destined to be in a good place in the end of their lives, no matter what, like human lives are bound to be forgiven or to be rewarded. But I don't know if I am that optimistic. I think sometimes people are just victims of a terrible bad context, and sometimes there is nothing that you can do. But if you can be very tough and look for opportunities, for an example, I didn't think that there were opportunities, but they actually exist. You know, when you switch careers, there are ways to get along with that. You're not gonna die, especially these days. Maybe 15 years ago, I wasn't that mature 15 years ago. I was actually pretty much of a big kid, but the idea that you had in mind, or 25 years ago, is that you would go to college and that's it. You're gonna follow a line and die one day.
That's the idea you had in mind.
But you will never get out of the line.
That's the idea you had in mind, you're saying?
No, that's the idea that I think most of the Western culture had in mind, and maybe the whole world these days. But what I'm gonna say now, I think it's based on certain knowledge, but I think these days it's more about the people that you meet and the projects that you get into that lead to another project and lead to another networking situation, and that builds up your career.
I agree with that, but I kind of disagree with the point that you made about people just think you go to school and that's it. I feel like that's the old ages, like my parents.
Yeah. Like 25 years ago, my parents were just about finishing college. Like 30 years ago, yeah, they finished college back then, yeah.
Like for me though, like I'll be honest, I never really liked school. I went to school just to do it because I was forced. It was a forced thing.
Really?
Yeah, I never liked school. And then I'm an entrepreneur now. So I don't work for anybody. I work for myself. Everything I do is for myself.
That's great.
And I never liked the structure of school because the way they taught me and the way they taught a lot of my friends as well, those aren't the ways that we learn. Like sitting down, looking at a board or looking at a teacher all day, that's not how I learn. And that's not how a lot of people learn. But they're teaching everybody essentially the same way and expecting everybody to get the same information when they don't even learn that way. You understand?
Yeah, I think part of that is you gotta have a system of production of knowledge and workers, and you need to come up with certain rules. But in a way, we're just getting out of barbarism. 100 years ago, we still had big wars and people killing each other on the street. Like, we still have it. But I mean, our society is not that mature yet. I think the system of education is still going to improve a lot. And especially after the internet, I think we can see that, what you're saying, you know? Because the school rewards a certain type of student.
And I noticed 1,000%. And I noticed that when I was in school, even like I went to college and everything, but when I went to school, I was more memorizing than actually learning.
True, that's true.
I was memorizing, like when they were teaching me, and I put big air quotes, when they were teaching me, I was memorizing the answers. I wasn't learning anything. Like there's nothing, and I'll be frank with what I do. There's nothing that I really learned in school that I could take and apply into my life today, except memorization.
Memorization. Yeah, that's true. I don't think it applies for real. Like, if you study programming, you realize that you really need to go practical. You don't connect one thing to another if you don't go practical. And it's a pretty recent technology, but as it scales really fast and everybody needs these days, that's a worldwide need. I think it's a good example to show you that going practical with projects and interest leads you
in the right direction.
Yeah. I agree with that. I had good times and bad times in school, but I agree with you. Like, I think we need to think about alternatives
and what actually works for certain individuals.
Yeah, very individual approach. But I think parenting is a very important aspect of schooling.
I agree.
Yeah, I think parenting, you
elaborate on that a little bit.
Exactly. Like you build up the mindset of the child and the way it's going to inquire the world, and how it's gonna basically build the feedback systems of the child and the outside world. And I think you can't do that on scale. You can only do that individually, and I think parenting definitely plays a big role in that. Yeah.
So essentially it all starts with the foundation. That's what you're saying.
I think it helps a lot. Maybe you can get that foundation outside. You have what is the right word for
mentor?
that? It's not your father, but it's a
mentor.
Like, mentor. Yeah, it could be a mentor.
So it's funny you say that, because for me, I found my mentors through social media, through YouTube and things of that nature.
Yeah.
So I do agree with that, because sometimes at home you don't have that foundation. You might have a father physically, but you don't have a father figure. You might have a mother physically, but you don't have a mother figure. So what I had to do is, yes, I have these things and I appreciate everything they do, but what I needed to learn is not something that they could give me because of their lack of experience.
Yeah.
You understand? So what I advise the people that watch this show is to go on YouTube, go on Instagram, go on Facebook, and find these individuals that could teach you, that can help motivate you and drive you to the person you actually want to be. Read books.
I think you're right. Yeah, I think you're right. And the internet is a great gift
source
to humanity.
It is humanity, bro. Like everything runs off of the internet. If something trends right now on TikTok or Snapchat or Instagram, everybody's gonna do it. The world is led by the internet, by social media, and it's crazy.
Yeah, in a way, everything has good and bad sides.
1,000%.
But I will stick with the good side for now.
Yeah.
And I will say that if you have agency while you research the internet, it's just a wonderful tool for knowledge and connection. Wonderful.
And then there's always the bad side where people, binge on the internet. They waste all their time there and they neglect relationships, like we were talking about earlier.
Yeah.
There's always two sides to the coin.
Of course, as everything does. You might say that the scaling of the ability of controlling the people in a certain way or another to make money or to build a political background for a candidate, all those things can happen, but it's still a great thing. And I use it a lot for knowledge. Yeah, and like we can't get lost on the pessimism, because we gotta have agency. And among all of those bad trends that sometimes happen to be, there are many good trends as well. I think the human rights got a lot of things right in the past 10 years because of social media, because people were able to connect.
I agree with that 1,000%.
Yeah.
No, 1,000%. It brought awareness to a lot of things within the world.
Exactly.
And that's what we actually need. Awareness. Everything is about awareness. If we go back 10, 15 years ago, what happened with the strikes and with everything you were talking about, it would have never been that big on that global of a scale. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It was the social media, the recordings and things of that nature that shed light on those situations, that brought it out there.
few years ago, you would talk to a friend, you would maybe, phone your teacher, or you would receive the news out of a TV or newspaper. But now you can actually talk to people, and I think that is the factor. That now you can have more live information, even though sometimes it is wrong information, but you can have it live. You can see it moving in front of you, and being able to talk to the people like that, like you have better feedback. It's not in your mind. It's not something that you're like, you can see it happening, and that's only positive in my perspective.
And the good thing about it is that they don't have to actually listen to what's going on, because there's a motion picture happening.
Yeah. What
right
if I have a question and I was wondering, and I could, hit the same wall over and over for months, but the information is right there on Reddit somewhere, and okay, just move on.
Awesome.
You learn faster.
I agree.
You learn faster if you need like something technical or something social.
I agree, depending on your learning style.
Yeah.
So what do you struggle with now? Professionally, mentally, personally?
Oh, personally. And I struggle with just one more day, and then keeping on doing it. The motivation aspect of, because the technical support I already have, it's about really not losing it.
So it's the motivation that you struggle with the most.
I think it's the hardest thing of what I'm doing now, because I already built enough knowledge to keep on building something, but yeah, there is the randomness of the next month. There is...
So the unknowingness, that's what you're talking about.
Yeah, the unknowns now, they are just too many. But for all of us, I guess. I think right now, at least one of the good sides of the pandemic is that we kind of normalized the curve of unknowns to everyone. So then we really share the struggle this time. And I think the unknown factor is a big factor in if you take into consideration any sorts of businesses.
I feel like for you guys, because in the States, we're open. But I feel like for us though, it was like a reset for us.
Yeah.
We had time at our house, we couldn't leave anything, and a lot of businesses were started within the pandemic in the United States.
Yeah.
I don't know how it is over here, but when I did come over here on the cruise ship, I didn't even know you guys were going through a pandemic. It literally felt like I was going back in time. Like a mask. Yeah. We don't wear masks over there. We're open. Like
everywhere in US?
We're open. Yes. We've been open for
No, I know
now.
you guys have opened up many different places.
No,
especially Florida.
No, we're open,
and
bro.
Texas are open for real. Everywhere is open.
We're open. That's what I'm saying. So when I got here, I had to go through this whole process of, I'm like, what is this?
I think that's due to the fact that there is a lot of international people everywhere where you were going through these days, like in this area of the planet, in Mediterranean, and especially in the cruise ship. You have people coming from all sorts of countries, which are not at the same stage of vaccination. So probably it's due to that. I think US had a good policy of vaccination after a while, right? So that's why you guys made
1000%.
it to open once again, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Brazil is still crappy,
Crappy.
Yeah. It's a very tough situation in Brazil now.
Okay.
Regarding pandemic and politics. But let's not get into that. That's too much.
Too much information.
Too much. But in this area, that's because I guess it's the international people, man. That's why. So we have to follow the protocols of the government, which is fair, right? We always do it. But during pandemic, the protocols change, the sanitary protocols, health protocols, and due to people coming from Asia, South America, North America, Africa, Europe, then I think we have to take an extra care, and that's why.
I agree. Is there anything else you want to mention on the show?
No, just go to my Spotify in about a month and make me rich.
Follow him on Instagram. What's the Instagram again?
John Klein 1. Well, we can put a little link anywhere where you post
Put the link under the...
at Jean Klein, Jean, Klein like Calvin Klein 1, because there wasn't one without a number, and the number 1 was right there, so that's what I used it.
Awesome. So at the end of the day, it's Bastingdrip, the flyest in the city, aka the young intellectual.
And Jean Klein, the DJ, make me rich.
And we out. Thank you, brother.
Bro, it was a big pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you,
it
brother.
was really fun.